Okay, everybody. It is a scorcher outside. We're reaching the high 90s, predicted to stay the same tomorrow, also with rain, but still hot, and who knows, may reach the hundreds. So stay hydrated, stay cool, be careful, okay? Now, my friend Master Jose Gonzalez asked me to review the Danny Garcia Jose Benvenidez fight that happened 2 days ago. And I finally got a hold of footage of the whole entire fight. I had been looking at highlights, and you know, I'll be full. I'll give you some full disclosure on me. Danny Garcia is not a fighter I used to follow, but because of recommendations, I started following him, and this is really cool because I really get to see him in action at his new weight and after his long layoff. But not all layoffs are idle. Obviously, he did the work. He didn't come in there flabby at all. He was all muscle. He was agile, and he was fit. Often the fight is won or lost before the first punch is thrown, right? Because this is a professional match. A street fight can happen in 30 seconds. Oftentimes, it gets broken up before anything, any real damage gets done, or it escalates and other people jump in. So endurance and skill and strategy are not as important as much as, reflex, aggression, and, just being able to keep moving, keep swinging. But this was a professional fight, and it went all 12 rounds. Credit to both fighters. Very good fight. Very entertaining. I looked through some of the comments when I was looking at the shortened version, the highlights, and some people were saying Jose Benvenidez was a stationary fighter. He wasn't anywhere near of a challenge. That's pure bunkum. All right. Jose Benvenidez hits like a darn mule, and even his fastest jabs were thrown with tremendous power, tremendous snap. How would I compare him? I mean, if you get good audio, you could hear him go. He was ki-ing, okay? He was doing what many traditional karateka and other martial artists do, where there's a loud shout on impact, where you're trying to focus all of your mind and body and breath together in a mighty blow, right? Hoping to finish the fight. But he would throw multiple ki-eyed punches as if he was trying to throw the fastest possible combinations of the hardest possible punches as continuously and smoothly as possible. Anybody who says Jose Benvenidez is not a good fighter, not a challenging fighter, and a stationary fighter needs to get their eyes checked or their head checked, okay? There were a couple of times when Danny Garcia, there was one time I think in round 4 where he kind of threw, I think it was an overhead right, and overextended himself, and Jose Benvenidez went to town and even threw what looked like a triple right hook where he was just trying to bash his skull in, right? Danny Garcia has been said to have a great chin, a man who can take a great punch. And what I like about this match was he did not try to spend that ability, okay? A good chin, the ability to take punches is something you spend. You keep spending it, you run out of it. It's like a bank account that runs out, right? He conserved that ability as much as he can. He doesn't rely on it. Even when he moves into attack, he's monitoring the opponent's limbs, and he'll attack and he'll see something come and shift and evade and come back and continue his attack. All right, he was masterful at maintaining the right distance, because I'm telling you, the times that he went in the pocket with Benvenidez were incredibly dangerous times. They were high-risk exchanges, and he came out for the better. I think what happened was Jose Benvenidez told himself that he was going to knock this guy out, that he was the bigger man. He was much more used to dealing with heavier punches and delivering heavier punches, and Danny Garcia has to go up in weight and he won't be strong enough. Well, Mr. Garcia, your training program showed that you were able to put on muscle mass, keep it explosive, keep your reflexes, and stay sharp at this higher weight. You're going to have to do more of that because the next fighter will be more challenging and so on and so forth until you either meet someone you can't beat or you get that title. It's that simple. What I loved about Danny Garcia was he had great tactile reflexes. He'd parry and cover and maintain his posture where possible, but he could also roll. This was more distance control. And there were times when it looked like the punches connected, but he was rolling with it, retracting from it, turning from it, so much that I postulate that the effect on him was negligible. They might have just felt like brushes to him. There were a couple. He came in once and he kind of had a taunting look on his face, and Benvenidez hit him with an incredibly stiff jab and followed it with a right hand. And that stiff jab, when they showed it in slow motion, like it compressed his face, and he immediately began switching back into defense mode and had to cover up for the next flurry and came back. So, I would say if there's anything that he needs to work on in terms of his training and prep, and he probably already knows this, is there was again that overcommitment in the fourth round, and the commentators were like, this is something you don't normally see in a Danny Garcia bout. He overextended. Well, I think what happened was not that he overextended, but just because he's a little heavier, right, he's got a little more mass to him, he can throw harder than he's used to, and retracting, the retraction motions just take a little bit more energy, and that's something he just has to figure out, right? Exercises where you're rocking and rolling and bopping maybe need to become more prominent in warm-ups and things like that, right? And of course, strong lumbar, strong core, strong stabilizer muscles, which come from a variety of exercises, both body weight and weighted, and even machines, although for a guy like him, machines are kind of useless. They don't give you the kind of total body, mind-body connection and stabilizer muscle connection that you need for a sport like this. If he was just powerlifting or something, they might be useful in certain planes of motion, especially if you're rehabbing a joint. I noticed that as the fight went on, he switched on more and more. He began to smile, taunt, and his opponent wanted him to clash. And what I noticed he would do is Benvenidez would get hit with a hard shot or a hard combo and pull back and go, is that all you got? Is that all you got? Come in again. Maybe hoping that Danny Garcia would come in and fight in the pocket with him, or maybe he was more hurt by them than he let on and wanted Danny Garcia to hesitate. A couple times it looked like Danny Garcia hesitated to watch the spectacle of this guy, doing his taunting, but there's ways around that. There's ways to train your mind so that whether the person taunts or doesn't, whether your shots appear to be affecting him or not, you stick to your game plan and you get down to business, and that even disturbs the opponent more. But the commentators were saying over and over again, you can't just take the shot and act like you're shrugging it off and not respond. If you have to choose between taunting a person and letting them think that their shot had no effect, and actually countering them so that he doesn't rack up points, counter, right? And again, maybe, even though he's used to moving around at that weight, honestly, he didn't have the speed or the ability to recover and flurry again like Danny Garcia did. Okay? I'm not being cruel, because Benvenidez was a great fighter. Is a great fighter. That is a tough match that he went into, and he had murder in his eyes when he was throwing those combinations. And when he connected, I held my breath a little bit, because now I feel like I'm a Danny Garcia fan, and I'm also a Benvenidez fan. They're good fighters. They were, it got heated. The ref did a great job of separating them and giving them time to cool down, because he felt like things could have deteriorated and become personal and unsportsmanlike. And to you, ref, I'm going to drink a cup of this cold herbal tea. All right. This was a good match. This is what boxing was all about. I was very touched at the end. And Danny Garcia talked about how he had been going through all these problems, and we don't know what they are. I don't know what they are. I can only guess. It's tough. Your whole life revolves around training for a night of very short, intense violence, right? And there's millions of dollars at stake, and you've given up so much. You don't go out and party and drink and smoke, whatever both the light stuff and the heavy stuff, and you give up so many good foods and so many late nights. You could be just hanging out with your friends or your kids or something. You abstain from so much, and then you put all this on you. And then, aside from that, there's the pressures of life, kids, relatives, all kinds of things. And because you're the primary breadwinner and you're a successful multi-million-dollar athlete, I bet that a lot of people think you should be providing everything for them. They lean on you because you're the strong one, right? And meanwhile, who do you lean on? Obviously, you lean on your dad, and you have your crew around you, and someone we both know that I'm going to say you can lean on, because he has the knowledge and the ability to help you be what you want to be, right? Which is holding a title in this new weight class, right? I've dealt with professional athletes before, and professional athletes can get mentally gnarled. They get afraid, they psych themselves out, they get superstitious, they start believing either that the other person is way more fearsome and dangerous than that person is, or they get imposter syndrome where they're like, I know I'm here, I know I'm the champion, but I don't really deserve this, I just lucked my way into this, I'm a fake, right? A million things could be happening. And I deal with this. I've encountered this. I've encountered this in my life. I've been through many downs. So don't, if you're a fan of Danny Garcia and boxing, don't denigrate the fact that the man cried genuine tears and sobs over the triumph he had after all the things he'd been through. That's what we go through in life. That's those hardships and those privations and even our failures and picking ourselves up again to fail again and picking ourselves up again. I mean, they don't define us, they refine us. They help show us what we need to do to rise above and to be better, right? And Mr. Garcia, if you're watching this, again, those are genuine, heartfelt, emotional expressions of your true self, right? They're not the tears of someone giving up and saying, I give up, I quit. Those are the tears of someone saying, hey, man, I went through all this and now I'm here, and, man, I can just let it out now. That's cool. I'm glad that your father has such a good relationship with you. I had a pretty crappy one with mine many times, and I don't think I got, some of us don't get 1/10 of a tenth of the support you've gotten. So you have that is a fantastic thing you have, and we're all mortal. So not only are you enjoying it while you can, you're letting him know, you're giving thanks, you're letting the world know, right? And you'll pass that on to your kids in whatever they do. You'll pass that on to your fans, right? Your relatives. I was very inspired by this match. I was inspired by both of you. You're both good warriors. I have nothing bad to say about Benvenidez or his team or his family. He's equally worthy. It was a good match. You both were well picked, well trained. You gave it your all. and the result was what it was. Right? So, on this hot night, I'm very tired. A toast to both of you. Be well, my friends. Be well.